Peace. What's up, everybody? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there. Let me give y'all a few minutes to hop in the room. Peace, peace, peace. Let's get a quick little build in, shall we? Everybody can hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes. Let me know that you can hear me. Y'all can hear me? Okay, cool, cool. Peace, peace, peace. How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing? Well, or wherever you are, how are you doing at this present moment? Because it may not be nighttime where some of you all are. All right, great. I'm glad y'all can hear me. I'm glad y'all can hear me. We're going to let's give it a few minutes and, let's kind of let the room get settled a little bit. But how is everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're doing wonderful. Just wanted to check in with y'all real quick. Just checking in real quick. Yeah, peace, 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 peace. So I came with a topic for y'all tonight. I did. I actually came with a topic. So we're going to talk about a specific topic tonight. We're going to talk about anxiety and depression. Who's dealing with anxiety and dealing with some depression? Peace, peace, peace. Peace. Where y'all coming in from? New York City? All right. Trinidad? All right. Charm City. We're going to talk about it. Florida, Pensacola. What's up? What's up, San Antonio, Texas? Depression is the opposite of being impressed. If you aren't impressed with anything you see, you must reroute. I love that expression. It's beautiful. I like that. New York City. All right. It's rising time for you. I am Marzar. Hope you have a very productive and enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, I feel that. You must be impressed with yourself. You're absolutely right about that. That's what it's all rooted in. It's all rooted in being connected to self, because when we lose that connection, that's when we get depleted. That's when we get low. That's when we experience the stress, the anxiety, the depression. All right, Metro Atlanta. Shout out to ATL. You know we in the house. Jacksonville, Florida, North Carolina. That's the home state. Philly, California, Cleveland. Man, y'all really up in here tonight. All right. I feel it. England all up in here too. All right. I appreciate y'all for hopping in. I don't have another account, Jen, baby. So let's just go and throw that out there. Everybody that's new here, this is your first time on the live. I don't have any backup pages. I do not DM for readings. So it's 9 times out of 10 you're dealing with a scammer. Just go ahead and report them and block them. So hopefully, Instagram will stop playing with me and get rid of these fake accounts. We got VA, Kentucky, Louisville, Mooresville, North Carolina. Okay, I appreciate y'all. We're going to have a nice little build tonight. We got a nice little group. Survivor, massive stroke, been dealing with anxiety. Oh, man. Sending nothing but love and light to you. Nothing but healing energy. I can only imagine. From Tennessee, say theme we post every day. All right, Rita. I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad you started to follow. Just watch out for the fake pages. As I said, I only have the one page, so it's from Arizona. All right. Yep, we're gonna talk about that depression and anxiety, how it affects your confidence. All of those things, your self-esteem. Absolutely, we're gonna talk about all those things. We're gonna talk about all that. Let's build on it. I'm kind of. I've been doing a lot of working, y'all. So y'all see I'm just, t-shirt and everything. But anyway, we gonna build, because I don't know, I felt like it was something I wanted to talk about. Now, the planets video for the astrology is currently being edited right now. So I'm just waiting for that. It'll be uploaded probably in a matter of hours. I don't know how long this is gonna take. But that's coming. So if y'all see me glance over, I'm just looking at the progress of that over on my computer screen, just so I can get that up for y'all. But, I don't know. I just felt the need to talk about this today. We don't got to build on it long, but I don't know. I just felt that this is something that needs to be talked about. I discuss the chakras a lot, and I talk about energy a lot. All right, and I talk about alchemy, and I talk about shadow work. And the main reason why I talk about these things is because I've dealt with anxiety. I dealt with depression. I still right now even when I'm about to make a video, like I still feel all the same things. Like it's just every day is the same struggle. You know, these things don't go away. You know, these the fears, you know, those things don't really go away. But what you have to do is you have to empower yourself, you know, build yourself up so that you can endure through those tests, endure through those moments, you know, push through those moments where we're having to confront the parts of ourselves that we're not comfortable with, right? Now, one of the main things when we're talking about anxiety, right? Anxiety has a lot to do with being out of time. You're in the wrong time. You're not able to be present, right? Because when you're dealing with anxiety, a lot of times you are dealing with a fearful future. You are dealing with the thoughts of an outcome that you do not want to happen, something that you don't want to occur. So this is when our mind is preoccupied, right, with our negative, you know, our insecurities, you know, our fears and things like that. And all of this really stems from, you know, the things that we have gone through in our life that has caused certain energy blockages and doesn't allow our energy to freely flow. See, so when certain things happen in our lives, certain emotional events, you know, we convince ourselves that certain parts of ourselves we have to hide away, we have to keep away, you know, it's not going to be accepted, it's not worthy of being loved. And in the means of doing that, we lose connection with ourselves, we lose ourselves. You can't hide parts of yourself from other people and not expect it to not hide it from yourself as well. So whatever you hide, you're hiding it from yourself also. So you're losing connection with yourself also. So when you feel vulnerable to your emotions, when you don't want to express them, when you just suppress them, they don't go away. And it usually ends up turning into something more that you are even more powerless against later. That's your, you know, your Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That's your other self. So when you don't want to deal with these things, that part of you that takes on all of those negative characteristics, all those negative traits, is going to take that on for you. Now, see, the thing about that is the more you use that, the stronger it becomes. The harder it becomes to override or to overcome later on in life. You know what I'm saying? So it distinguishes a pattern, and you end up falling into the pattern. Now, see, if you know the chakras, then you can see how this can affect your chakras along that same path. So we start with our root. What happens a lot of times, and a lot of us, especially if you're into spiritual knowledge, if you're into the spiritual awakening, so when you get an open third eye, if you don't have the strength in your lower chakras to ground that energy, then it's gonna cause a lot of imbalances for you. So a lot of us struggle with that grounding when we get that spiritual awakening. See, we have to bring that energy back down. That's why so many of us can feel like we don't belong here. We don't know why we're here. But it's your mother. You're lacking a connection to Mother Earth herself. See, so it's in a sense, we are ascending, but we are also grounding. See, that is the constant, that's the dance. That's the dance between the higher and the lower, because you're here. You're not just here, you know, for no reason. Now, we know that we aren't just going to be here, and even after we leave here, there is more to it. But there is a mission that we came here for. So being grounded, when we get grounded, when we had our spiritual awakening, it grounds that psychic energy. It grounds that spiritual energy. It allows you to bring it down. You know, when you say the Lord's Prayer, say, on earth as it is in heaven, you have to bring it down. If not, you're out of balance. You know what I mean? You find yourself being pulled. You're constantly up in these higher ideals, but finding it hard to be able to maintain yourself in the physical. So it's a middle path. So the trick is we're conditioned or tricked to be in one swing of the polarity or the other, one extreme or the other, because we've been told, you know, it's so many forms of duality that we're tricked our minds and that we perceive through. It's the checkerboards. You know, when you see the symbology of the checkerboards, the black and the white. So that's symbolizing your dual nature. It's symbolizing you being split in two. So whether that's through, some people deal with it through genders, you know, through sexuality. Some people deal with it through race. So either way you do it, it's a means of splitting you out of your oneness. So we have to be able to ground ourselves back, you know, ground that spiritual energy back down. So when you look at the chakra, right? So it goes up, you know, your kundalini and everything rises up, but that energy circulates. That was the point of the Ankh. See, one thing about the Ankh represented that electromagnetism. So you creating that electromagnetic field around yourself. So when you, and it see, and like we say, or like a lot of people were saying, it's the representation of the womb. It's also a portal. So when you see a lot of the hieroglyphs, and when you see the holding of the Ankh, specifically in the left hand, it's symbolic reference to the power of the Ankh, to what it represents, you know. So it's a lot of things that we could have elaborated on in talking about the Ankh, because it represented so many metaphysical principles that was utilized all throughout the ancient system. Now, it's not just ancient Egypt, though. You know, we can see metaphysical understandings, especially in relation to our body, all throughout the ancient civilizations. You can pick and choose. I don't even debate on which system to use, because at the level where I'm at in my understanding, it's all the same to me. It's hard for me to disintegrate it all back down, because I've come to a point where it's all come together for me. So I wouldn't want to work myself backwards and break it back down and split it back up when I understand how it all integrates all together, me personally. So that's how it works for me in my spirituality. But when you lack that grounding, so when your root chakra, when you can't be grounded, you don't feel safe. You know, being stable, it starts on the inside. You know, being secure, it starts on the inside. All these things come from the inside. So everything that we look at energetically that says that we are struggling with something, understand that it's first an inner thing that's reflecting out. It's now to the point where it has crystallized in your physical. So now this is how this is affecting you physically, right? But it starts with an internal thing. So we deal with grounding, and when we dealing with the third eye, so understand you got your higher and your lower. That's why you constantly at battle with yourself, trying to figure out what's good, what's bad, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, because you haven't figured out how to integrate them yet, because you haven't brought the energy back down yet. So you have to work on still your lower chakras, because they empower you and set you. It's like a tree. If a tree is going to grow up and be mighty, right, like know how deep them roots are. So you have to be firmly planted. So everything about your root chakra is in your self-identity, right? It's in everything pertaining to self-love. And see, it's even connected to self-acceptance. And see, that also has that connection with that brow chakra, because it has to do with your vision, because we're dealing with light. So you have to have it balanced out. Now, see, sometimes depending on, we have to remember that we don't have an initiation system. We don't have a means of walking this path with it perfectly aligned in explanation to us to accommodate our environment. We don't know. All we know is in terms of the ancient. We have to take it and try and apply it to now. But we don't truly know how to really fit this into our environment. They didn't tell us how to deal with this with cell phones. You see what I'm saying? All of these things that is distracting us every second of every day it's keeping us distracted from ourselves. The more you're distracted from yourself, the more disconnected you're going to be from yourself. So we take on these programs, right? We take on this indoctrination of what they teach us is success, or what's right or what's wrong, or what we're supposed to do, or what a relationship looks like, or what a marriage. They tell us all these things, give us all of this program. And then we try and fit into that program. And then when we can't fit into these perfect little ideas or little boxes, we have all types of stress, anxiety, and depression. Because for one thing, when you out in the world, the more you suppress of yourself, the more you're going to exhaust yourself. the less energy you're going to have to work with on a daily basis. That's the only danger it comes with when you're talking about code switching. That's one thing you have to understand, because you have to be able to maintain balance. Because the more you pretend, or the more you put forth, the more that you are acting a role, it's going to take energy away from you. And it can become a pattern. Next thing you know, you don't even remember who you are no more, because you've got become accustomed to playing this role. So depression kicks in. It's like, I'm tired of this now. When your soul is like, hey, hey, hey. And it's like, no matter what you do, you try and buy more things. You try and go more places. You know, you try and experience different things for this feeling. But something in you is just like, hey, this is not who we are. That's what it is. It's like no, this isn't who we are. This isn't what we are. And at some point, you have to face that. Now, see, that's why some people, it can even further go on to affect their sacral chakra. And see, they have to find a means to turn it off. And that's where people can find themselves trying to escape. Where you can find addictive patterns to cope and to deal with the things that you feel. And where it's like you become accustomed to dealing with it. So now, and let me tell you, naturally, the third eye, right? Naturally, this brow chakra, the herb that aligns with that is cannabis or marijuana or weed, however you want to say it. So you can find yourself craving weed. And it's not that it's bad, but you can be using it in a means of just trying to escape. But because your third eye is open, but you lacking balance in your lower chakras, you can be craving it, and you can be using it, and you can be creating an addiction to it as a means to accommodate, but you can feel like you having a spiritual experience. So it's not to take away from it, because it does have a connection to your third eye chakra, just like ayahuasca and a couple of other herbs that provide that for your because it's about vision, it's about light, right? So, but if you don't have the right balance, that's why you always have to remember that you need your ego. Don't ever think that you don't need, that you have to maintain your physical self. The root chakra, the whole purpose of the root chakra is embodiment. Why would you have the purpose of an energy center of embodiment if you ain't supposed to be present? You still supposed to be present. See, the thing is, don't get caught in the illusion. That's really why we stress, depressed, and have anxiety, because the illusion is defining us. We're allowing the matrix to define us. So it's like, man, I'm 35 and I ain't married with a house yet. And so you down and you beating yourself up. But that's a construct. That's a false construct. Who says that has to be? Who says that means that you are on a correct path? Who says that is the path for you? You know what I mean? Or who says you have to have a traditional relationship anyway? Who says any of these things? So the thing is, we have to connect back with ourselves. So I tell people all the time, look, you need to go lay in the grass, right? Go lay in the grass and just look up in the clouds like you a little kid and look at and make out what you see in the clouds. That's a good way to balance out being on the ground and dealing with your high spirituality, because you're looking up at the clouds. You still using your imagination, using your vision, but you got to get grounded. See, it's so easy for us not to be grounded. Think about it. We get up in the morning. We got to get dressed. We got to go out to work. We get in our cars. You feel me? We drive our cars, or we take public transport, whatever we taking. You know, we're not taking a moment to enjoy the present. It ain't like we off strolling, walking to work. Very little people are doing it. So we get in our cars, we go on to work. We got to accustom or adapt ourselves for the work environment. We got to deal with the work environment. Then we got to get stuck in traffic before we head back home. We got to get home. We got to see our families and we ain't seen all day. You might got to cook for your kids, you know, your husband, your wife, or whatever. You might got to clean up your house. You might who knows what you got to do. You don't have no time for nothing. That's your life on a wheel. That's it. That's how most of us are, especially in America. That's how they have us just running. You ain't have time to stop. That's why we can't meditate. Most of us can't meditate. Most of us don't know how to meditate. We don't. And it's not that hard, but it feels so hard just to sit there and be still. Why can't we be still? Y'all ever thought about that? Why can't we just be still? 5 minutes, y'all. 5 minutes we can't even sit and be still. We picking our phone up trying to see what's going on. Because it's a distraction from self. A lot of people talk about this is a distraction. It's a distraction. You're right. But everything is a distraction to a certain degree, because if you are not paying enough attention to yourself and your journey, then you're running on a wheel. You got to escape the trap. See, some people view the trap as financial, right? Some people view the trap as educational. Really, the trap is all of them. It's just whichever one you find yourself caught up on, because they created so many. That's the whole checkerboard. That's the whole point of it. But you got to step back and get off of the board and realize that you can just play the game. But it's so simple, but we make it so complex. It's so simple, but we make it so complex. I keep trying to meditate, then I notice every noise. Well, try visualization meditation. Try listening to a visual. Try utilizing visuals when you meditate. You know, that's purposely, because there's energy work and means of utilizing visualization. You know, the power of the mind is a thing. You can use fire. Maybe, because fire, looking at a fire, just looking at, that's why the campfires and stuff like that, sitting around telling a story. So you looking at fire, it can put your mind in a trance. See, the key, it's about your brain waves. Because see, what happens is when we talk about manifesting and we talk about the power of the mind. So when you get to a certain point and you're trying to manifest and you're manifesting, what you're doing is you're sending out waves. You're sending out quantum waves. So you're having quantum entanglements with all of the waves of the frequencies of the whole universe. So what you're trying to manifest, it's like everything is getting on your wave. Think about it. Ride this wave. Everything we do and we say be spiritual, but we don't know, because we've lost the concept of what spirituality is. Because we base it off of all we know is what we know through indoctrination. But we don't realize it's in our swag. It's in everything that we do is our spirituality. You know, so when we recognize that we on a vibe, we on a wave, and people are riding our wave, they're riding your frequency. They're catching on to your wave. That's how people become viral. It's quantum entanglement. It's literally the waves are interacting and creating the reality that you want. That's what the quantum leap is, the quantum jump. That's what all of these things are talking about. That's what they're referring to. You know what I mean? So when we talking about anxiety, there's just certain things you just have to learn how to slow down. You just have to learn how to slow life down. Because a lot of us, we have these goals, these ideas, these ambitions. Because remember, that brow chakra has to do with vision. So the highest vision, this is your higher mind. So when you open your third eye, you now have the ability to perceive from your higher mind. So that means that you are now able, so you're receiving information, more subtle information. You're receiving more energetic information now, because subconsciously now you're more open to these frequencies now. So you have to think about when you have a goal, exactly, patience. We can get caught up in the end goal that we don't see the progress that we making, and we scatter and we can't see something out. We can't see it through because we don't. Then that's when we lose our vision. Because what you have to do is you got to slow yourself down and you got to understand process, right? If you can just respect, or you can just claim victory, to claim your small victories, that's going to provide you with the motivation, right? That's going to give you the spark. It's also going to trick your brain into keeping you going steady on your path. That's how you get yourself into focusing, right? I have no goals. Well, you can have spiritual goals too, though, bro. That's even off a spiritual sense. You may even want to get more in tune with your spiritual self. That's still a goal. So it's still, even if I'm like, okay, I want to be able to meditate every day a certain amount of time, it's still a goal. So what you want to do is just take it a step at a time and just take every step as an accomplishment. But see, we belittle our accomplishments. We belittle the steps we take because we ain't going fast enough, because we too busy comparing ourselves to what somebody else is doing. We too busy looking at somebody else's highlight reel. So we creating that competition in our mind. So now we putting that pressure on ourselves. Now you dealing with anxiety again. When in actuality, you don't need to worry about nobody else. You don't need to worry about what nobody else has going on. You just got to focus on your race. You just got to stay in your lane. You got to mind your business. You got to mind the business that pays you. And that's you. You the greatest business that you are ever going to have. It is the development of you, the growth of you. Right? So when you break down your long goals into something small, you can't just say, well, I want to be a doctor. It might take you 8 years to be a doctor. You may get tired along the way. And some of us are more energetically wired to have to confront issues of patience. So what you have to do is you recognize that pattern. So it's like, okay, to be a doctor in 8 years. So you know what? I'm going to maintain a 3.5 GPA the first whatever. I'm just giving an example of something that can take a long time, that you want to break it down into small pieces. So once you accomplish that, it take you in the first semester 2-3 months, right? So is in the means of that's a smaller goal. It's not going to take you as long a time to get there. So once you accomplish that goal, you see progress, and you don't have to feel like you're not moving, like you're stuck. That's one of the ways to kind of get yourself or kind of help yourself along when you do feel stuck. Because also it may mean that you may have to reevaluate the foundation of what you're doing. You may have to think about, is this something that you really want to do for the long haul? Because that all has to do with it too, And then you want to also you got to know how to be present. You have to know how to be present. You have to know how to be where you are right now. So no matter what you are doing, you have to just focus on what you're doing right now. It's the little things. You see what I'm saying? It's an ongoing battle. It's like 12 steps. You ever seen people who deal with, addiction, and they're on the 12 steps? So that's kind of the thing when we're talking about in the same thing. It's the same. It's the concept and the principles that they learn is principles and concepts that everybody should learn. Because we should apply this to our life. That's why they are 12 steps, because it's a means of completion. It's a whole principle based off of these things. And you taking it one step at a time. You see what I mean? So remember that it's called the present because it's a gift. It's a gift. The thing about the English language, the spells of it, they tell us exactly what it is. They tell us exactly what it is. So when you're talking about the past, that's a moment that's no longer there. It's only a construct of your imagination. You see, we suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. Because we allow our imagination to get the best of us. We worry about what we don't want to happen. And most of the time, the thing that we fear happen, it doesn't happen. But you've already taken your body through that. So your body is already responding to it happening, right? So your body releasing them adrenals, now you in a fight or flight. Now you have this excess energy built up in your body that you need to release. All of this is a part, it's an intricate working system. Now, one of the things I really say when it comes to anxiety, we have to process our emotions. Now, you hear very wise people, spiritual gurus talk about, peace and things like that. But know that the reason that can be a discussion is because they've dealt with those things. Like, it's nobody who doesn't deal with it. So don't ever feel like you're less than, because you deal with it, you struggle with these things. Don't ever feel like that. It's just that you just have to build up you have to get empowered and build up your confidence so that way that you don't allow these things to stop you. Because we live in a society that doesn't really nurture us in the best way. It doesn't really do that, right? So it's common for people to have anxiety. We know. And then it's common, especially in our neighborhood, for so-called black people. We don't even talk about it. You're not even allowed to feel like that. Well, you know how we do, man. You just got to keep on going. You just got to keep on pushing. But you still have to process your emotions, though, because they have to go somewhere. I don't care if you have to get you a notebook and start journaling. Whatever it is that you have to do for you, but you have to process your emotions. That's something that you have to do, because all of that is connected. If you don't do that, it's gonna turn into rage. You definitely are not gonna be able to have patience when you already have suppressed rage. You just gonna be frustrated with everything, always, all the time. Everything's gonna feel like a frustration, and you're gonna get split between your heart and your mind, and it'll be about, what makes sense versus what feels right. That's what happens. That's why that anxiety is there. Because in your heart, you want to do something else, but your mind is telling you something else. I know. I've been through it. Trust me, I've been through it. I remember the first time I ever had a panic attack. I never forget the first time I ever had a panic attack. It was the scariest thing I ever felt in my life. I literally, you feel like you're going to die. Your heart is beating. And see, when you think about it, your third eye chakra, it controls your vision. So we're talking about inner vision. So you imagining all of these negative things, stressing on all of these bad things of the past, that has to do with your third eye chakra. You got to ground that energy down. You got to balance that energy out. Because it's connected to it. Because see, your third eye chakra, it's connected to your entire ANS, the nervous system, the automatic nervous system. So that's everything that goes on automatically in your body. It's connected to your third eye, your heart rate, your blood pressure. So when you're going through all of these things in your mind and your imagination, your body's going through it too. Your body is experiencing it too. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference. So when you say things about yourself like, "Damn, man, I'm trash," your subconscious doesn't know the difference. You're the generator. You are. So what are you generating? Are you creating? Are you building up? Or are you destructive? Because see what happens, and see when you lack that self-acceptance of self, if you don't do that work down here in these lower chakras, and you lack that self-acceptance, you'll never do anything. All you'll see is what you can see in the world. It's what you can see how things can be, how they're supposed to be perfect, how they should be better, but you'll never take an action. Because you got to balance that energy. You have to balance the energy out. You got to bring it down to the ground. You got to deal with the hard stuff. You got to deal with the low stuff. You have to deal with it. You can't push it out of the way. And it's going to be things that's going to come up that you may not even know that has allowed you to adapt a certain pattern. But you have to be open enough to be willing to accept yourself for it. Because if you're not ready to accept yourself for it, then you're not going to be ready to do that healing. It's just not going to be time. So when some people say, time heals all things, that's kind of what they mean. Because sometimes you have to go through some things in a cycle. Like Saturn has a cycle, right? We know Saturn going to come back around in 30 years. So issues around your foundation, around your inner authority, going to come back around in 30 years. Issues around your Chiron going to come around in 50 years. If you never deal with it, it's going to surface back up in 50 years. Some things in our life are going to be that way. Some things are going to be that way. How do I deal with my hidden wounds? It's a means of taking whatever process to identify. Like, wounds usually inflict a pattern. So you would naturally, it's about noticing what triggers, where your trigger is. Something happens, something where you feel a certain way, where you're made to feel, and it brings out something that feels like an old part of you, feels like something, and you automatically want to detach from it. You automatically don't want to feel it because you know what it is. And now some people can black out to it, depending on the energy, depending on the person, depending on how well they suppress. Because some people, they completely suppress. So they can black out in their energy. So, and when I say black out, it's like, it can be like a complete flip in the opposite self. Because a hint at what bothers you, what triggers you, is the things that really get you emotionally flared. Those are your triggers. So you have to ask yourself questions. I wonder why that bothered me so bad. And you start to think about things. And things start things really come to you. When you, let me tell you something. I'm going to be serious with you. When you ask your soul, when you really want that healing, it's going to answer you. It's going to answer you. You just have to be ready for the answer. You have to be ready for what it gives you. Because it's going to give you your demons flat in your face. Flat in your face. You remember that time you got beat up in 3rd grade real bad and you didn't want to go back to school? It's going to give you your demons in your face. That's what it's going to do. And you have to face it. You know what I mean? And when I say it and facing it, it's about accepting how it makes you feel. Accepting how it makes you want to react. You know, accepting, just accepting what it's telling you about yourself. Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to nurture that part of yourself. You see what I mean? It's like the African proverb. The child that you leave out of neglect is the one that comes back and burn down the village. That's your shadow side. That's your hurt side. That's what destroys shit in your life. Because it wasn't nurtured. So when that wound gets triggered, it's like pouring salt on the wound. It's like pouring salt on the wound. But it depends on a person. So for me, I look at astrology. I might look at numerology. I might look at, sometimes I just download. Sometimes spirit just speak. It depends on the person. It depends on who and what you are and what you do. It's about recognizing your spirituality though. So you have to know how your magic works. So you have to know how you work. But see, we're so accustomed to cutting ourselves off and doing what accommodates society, we done lost touch. So it's funny. They tell you have to put away childish things and you have to grow up. And then you grow up and you realize you have to get back to the shit you was doing as a child so you can heal. It's funny like that. It's funny like that. And a lot of stuff come from our parents. And it's not to say our parents don't mean to inflict harm on us. Now, some of us, unfortunately, have parents who are like that, who are abusive, who do intentionally inflict harm on us, who take all of those things out on their children. There are some people that's like that, unfortunately, who have to have that experience. But we have to demystify the parents. Like your parents ain't special. Some of us, our parents had us at 17, 18 years old. Think about yourself at 16, 17 years old. Think about that now. Think about your parent in their time with way less resources and way less to work with. Just think about it. It gives you a different perspective, a different way of looking at it. So when you can bring them down off of that archetype that you see them and you can see them as just a person, that's going to be 60% of your healing. Because most of it rooted in our parents because they're our caregivers. So when we were too little to understand, we molded ourselves to be accepted by our parents, not understanding our parents have their own stuff with them too. Not realizing it. And they didn't even have to be forceful or harsh or strict parents. They didn't have to be. It could just be the way of your nature. Some of us are way more intuitive than others. Some of us are more empathetic than others. Some of us can naturally pick up on when things are more harmonious in our environment. And we can naturally be prone to wanting to be harmonious in our environment. Or we could be prone to wanting to be of help. So the way that our character, our personality, depends on how we are able to respond to these things. And that's how that's how the shadow moves. That's how the ego moves. Both of them. So it's having to confront and having to address it because you're just trying to be your true self. That's the goal. That's really the goal. It's to be your authentic self. That's where your gold is. That's your gold mine. But you have to undo and unlearn all this stuff that's been put on you. That in itself is the initiation. The initiation is the fact that we are born in a world that imposes all of these things on us, and we have to wake up to who we are in the midst of all this shit. Just think about how spectacular you are to be awake in this. Think about it. Think about it. Think about growing up. Most of us, it's nobody conscious or awake in our family. How did we be awake? How is it us? We the ones chosen. We are the chosen ones, but we can get caught up in wanting to save our loved ones. But you save yourself. You're not here to save them. That's a part of your ego, because remember, your ego is molded out of what's approved through your relationships when you growing up. See, the shadow is what's made and what's disproved. So you already know. So you want to hide that. But the ego is the part of you that you want to highlight and you want to big up, because you say you've gotten good results from that. You've gotten approval from that. So it's about that too. So you got to understand all those things of approval molded your ego. You still have to address your ego, because you're not the ego either. That's just the parts of you that's just doing what it's supposed to do, or what it feels like it needs to do to be loved, to be accepted, you know. So we hide that other part and we want to highlight this part, but it creates an imbalance. And eventually everybody has their tower moments, right? Eventually everybody's going to have their break, because it's only so long you're going to be able to sustain multiple identities, because that's what it is. It's split personalities, but it filters down from your higher mind, because they split your higher mind by telling you it's a God and a devil, when really in reality it's one source, and you have a choice to choose if you want to be on the low side or if you want to be on the high side. And sometimes you're going to find yourself on the low side. And sometimes, you know, you're going to find yourself on the high side, but you got to be able to take the lesson regardless of where you are. That's really the lesson. That's walking the middle path. That's knowing it. That's knowing and proving. That's being a testament. You're going to do some bad. You're going to be on the bad side. You're going to be on the downside. Y'all not going to approve of everything I do. Y'all not going to like everything I do. It's the same thing. That's why you can't live your life off of the approval of other people, off of the acceptance of other people, because you are going to be at their peril when they start to disagree with you. You may have to run into that. What about when the energy flip? It's going to come a time I'm going to say something and it's going to go way out of context. It's going to come a time. It happens. I'm well aware it has to happen. As much as I can say something impactful, I can say something that can be hurtful. It's just the pendulum. And depending on who a person is and where they're sitting is how they're going to perceive that. So you have to be okay with being bad sometimes. You got to be okay with it. You got to understand that it don't mean that you want to hurt people. It don't mean go out and harm people, but you're going to know sometimes people going to disagree with you. Sometimes people are not going to side with you. And that's all right, because it's a lot of things in this world you're going to have to do by yourself. So you can't live off of everybody's approval. Because, man, that's going to be, that's harsh. It's going to be hard on you spiritually. You're going to be very depleted a lot. And you're going to end up with a lot of resentment at the end of it, because you're going to realize you didn't chase your path. You're going to realize you didn't do for you. You sacrificed you for the group. Or you sacrifice you for acceptance. Is it worth it? You're going to have to ask yourself, is it worth it at the end? You're going to have to ask yourself, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to be the judge of that. So that's how that really works. I keep getting that I need to be okay with not being nice. Yes, it's the people pleasing. It's the people pleasing. But see, what I realized about, because that's something I struggle with too, and what I realized about me is I came out of a life of putting a group before the needs of myself. Or at least that was something that was beneficial for me in that time. But it's no longer serving me now. See, that could have been in my childhood. That could have been me as a child feeling like I need to please people so that I don't get in trouble or so I don't be bad. Past life doesn't always necessarily, it depends. See, that's why I say what people believe don't really have to, it doesn't really matter, because it really all can coincide. Because if you think about in your childhood, man, that was a whole different life. That was a whole different life now than where you are at 35, 40. So that no longer accommodates me. So now I have to push myself into doing the opposite, which is the putting the self first. So I have to go from Libra to Aries. So I'm learning from Aries. So I realized that I can see people, especially earlier on in my life, I can see people or things about people being selfish, and it could trigger me. in ways, but it was triggering me because that's the growth that I need. That's what I have to learn. I have to learn how to be more about self. It doesn't mean I have to dive into the extreme and be all about myself and no one else. But I have to learn how to incorporate more of being for self. That's the lesson in it. That's all you're doing. You're balanced. This is a balance. This is all about balance here on earth in this realm, because we dealing with duality. It's very dangerous being a people pleaser in the adult world. It's very dangerous, because you will run into master manipulators and narcissists who will use you up. And if depending on what type of people are around, people pleasing was dishonest, that I was trying to control people's perception. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. You are trying to manipulate how people see you. You are trying to give them what you think they want from you. You're trying to live up to the image in somebody else's head. That's impossible. That's impossible. You can't do it. You can only be you. And why would you want to be anything else? Think about it. There's no other you. Billions of choices and things had to be made exactly the way they were for you to be born as you are. Billions of things. Like, it's so intricate. Y'all ever watch Men in Black 3? You know, when the dude started talking, when he's at the stadium and he's talking about the game. Y'all ever listen to that part? It's deep, because it can give you a higher sense of looking at it. Because just the smallest little thing that you don't think matter could change the very fabrics of the whole entire universe. That's powerful, because we are the micro of the macro. So when you looking at spiritual concepts and principles like that, you know, it gives you a different sense of being. There's a different sense of being, you know. But I'm not going to hold y'all too long. The video is almost done, and it's getting a little late on my end. I got to get up kind of early. But I don't know. I just feel like I need to talk about that anxiety and that depression a little bit, because we're so disconnected. We're so disconnected. That's what it is. We're disconnected. And the people that we attract in our lives are teaching us about our imbalances. So as an empath, attracting narcissists. Well, but honestly, 9 times out of 10, you probably grew up around a narcissist. So your ego was already molded to accommodate a narcissist. You have to unlearn all that. You have to unlearn all this. You got to unlearn everything. Unlearn it all. Unlearn it all. And get back connected to you. Whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like. So for different people, that's different things. You know, if you've seen the Jim Carrey movie, Yes, when he had to say yes to everything, because he was the type of person who lived on the complete other opposite of the spectrum. He said no to everything. He didn't want to take no chance, didn't want to do nothing new, nothing. He was stagnant. He couldn't grow. He couldn't do anything. So when he got in that situation where he had to say yes to everything, to that other opposite side, right? He started to live a totally different vibratory life. And then when he was able to bring it all together, he established peace in his life. He couldn't even stand up for himself at first. Like it's all in how you are able to work with yourself. Nobody can tell you how to do that. I can give you 100 examples. You know, I can work with people individually to specifically look at their energy. But it's really just going to come down to that person and how much that person really wants to bring forth that change. Because nobody can do it for you. Like that, you have to do your own work. You know how they say in school, do your own work, show your own work. You got to do your own work. Nobody can do it for you. The movie is Yes Man. The movie Yes Man. So it's like he always says no, but when he gets to the point where he says yes, his life changes, like everything. Because he was having like a midlife crisis. His job sucked. Everybody was running over him at his job. He lost his girl. She went off to be with somebody else. Like so much, but he was stuck in one pole. He had to go experience that other pole. He had to experience that other side. See, movies just condense spiritual concepts most of the time. Most of the time. That's what theater is for. Because the world is a stage. So if you can understand the world stage, right? You can understand the world stage, you can create anything you want out here. But, so I'm going to wrap it up for y'all for now. I'm going to save this live. I will post this live. I'll be back on. I might be back on tomorrow. So I think Instagram gave me badges. I don't know if they did or not. If I got some, I appreciate y'all. If you sent badges, I think I had the badges. I don't know. Now, anybody who has purchased an energy report, you still haven't received it, I need you to reach out. I've done so many of these at this point, so I think I've gotten a lot of them out. So if you haven't gotten yours, I just need you to email me or DM me, and we can get it all sorted out so I can get it over to you. If anybody got any questions about anything, just hit me up on the website. The video is going up on the planets. I'm putting that up for everybody on the YouTube. So I'm going to share it in the story, but the YouTube link itself is also on the website. You just scroll to the bottom and you'll see the YouTube icon. You just click and it'll take you to the channel. But I'm putting up the full planets video. So I'm going to try and share more snippets of the compact, the information is really, kind of teaching and everything. Okay, so the badges are there. Okay. Thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate it. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thank all of y'all for who joined in, everybody who commented, everybody who gave me a like, everything. If you shared the live, if you found it helpful, then go back and share it because I'm going to post it. But also if you guys have any interesting topics you think you might want me to touch on, if I get enough recommendations of certain topics, I will highly consider doing that too. But I will get with you guys a little later this week. So that concludes us for tonight. Y'all be good and stay dangerous. Peace.